So in today's idea of the day, I'm going to talk about why Star Wars is not science fiction. Because I had a talk with somebody recently about movies, and we were talking about the best science fiction movies ever made. And I was thinking about a whole bunch of movies that I loved, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, and some of the Star Trek movies, and those to me were great science fiction movies. Even Back to the Future is a science fiction movie, because basically these are movies that are fictional that involve scientific principles, the concept of bending space and time and technology and how it can change and evolve and over time. So they say, well, but that's what Star Wars is. And I said, no, it's not. Well, Star Trek, definitely science fiction. Star Wars is fantasy. Now, that's not a slight. It's not nothing against Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I mean, I have Star Wars stuff all over the place. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. But don't get the two mixed up. Star Wars is fantasy. Star Trek is science fiction. There's a big difference, because in a Star Wars universe, there's magic. And in every science fiction movie, there's not magic. There's science. There's something that someone could say, wow, they can distort time. They can distort space. They can travel through the universe at light speed, or figure out how to go back in time, or look at the gadgets they've come up with and all this other things. And then people say, well, what, they have all that in Star Wars. But what the one thing they have in Star Wars that you'll never see in Star Trek or in traditional science fiction is Star Wars is full of magic, magical people, magical powers. Or someone who uses his mind and suddenly he's zapping things from his fingers, which is obviously that's fantasy, and it's great fantasy. It's just like Lord of the Rings, except it's in space. It's a great fantasy premise that there's this mystical power, and it's an all-binding and you got Yoda and he's got the powers, and certain people are born with the powers, other people aren't born with the powers, and they have the metachlorons in their body or whatever other things are giving them magic powers. So that's science fantasy. That's fantasy, but not science. Science fiction, you got Star Trek. So that's the difference. And that little bit of education is today's idea of the day. Oh, and by the way, why not subscribe? I'm just starting a brand new channel just for Idea of the Day. So why not subscribe and see a new idea each day? And some of them don't suck.